So you want to run an Anavar only cycle. Is it a good idea?
Anavar only? Hell no. Take your 500 milligrams of test and shut the f*** up.
Hey guys, here's what to expect from an Anavar only cycle in terms of the gains, the cosmetics, the strength, and side effects to look out for. I'll go over the dosage, duration, supporting supplements you'll need, and answer the all-important question: does Anavar actually burn fat or not? I'll compare it to the tried and true test-only cycle, so stick around, I've got you covered. Quick history of Anavar then. Chemical name, oxandrolone, developed in 1962 with the intent of promoting and preserving lean muscle mass in those suffering from muscle wasting conditions. It was developed as an alternative to the male hormone testosterone for use in women and children because it's far more anabolic or growth promoting than it is androgenic or masculinizing. This makes it a top pick for female athletes looking for a competitive edge while avoiding the masculinizing effects of other androgens like body hair growth and voice deepening. This makes Anavar one of the most popular steroids to date for both men and women. While it used to be fairly common for Anavar to be faked as Winstrol, another powerful but far more toxic and androgenic oral steroid, these days that's actually quite rare because a lot of the underground labs selling Anavar are subject to far more scrutiny, in part due to the information age. They simply can't get away with it like they used to be able to, and it's simply not worth the reputational damage to their brands if they were found to be faking products or underdosing gear. Of course it still happens, but it's far less common than it used to be. So what can you expect from Anavar? First of all, let me say this. Absolutely no disagreement that testosterone is superior to Anavar as a first cycle in terms of the pure results, the manageability and consistency. But I also think Anavar has a place for certain types of people, particularly those who are terrified of needles and or just want to peak their physique for short periods of time. Maybe you're a natural and you've been cutting for the last 10 or 12 weeks, and in a month's time you're going on a lad's beach holiday and you want to look better than all your mates. Or maybe you're putting an online dating profile together and you want to do a photo shoot of yourself looking fucking jacked. See, it's these sort of situations and scenarios that I can see Anavar being useful for, while you're not committing to a full-on 12 to 20 week injectable testosterone cycle. So I think Anavar can be used for short periods of time to peak your physique for an event. That's for guys. For women, Anavar can be a great compound to use in low doses to add lean muscle mass as an alternative to the more androgenic compounds like testosterone, anadrol, trenbolone, and masteron that guys can use. Basically all the fun stuff. I think Anavar is a great way to test the waters without fully committing to an injectable steroid cycle. For example, if you were to do a 16-week testosterone cycle, you're looking at a minimum of 32 injections if you're using the enanthe or cypionate esters. I know a lot of people on Reddit and other boards criticize Anavar only cycles, and while there is legitimacy to what they say, I think 95% of them are just parroting the line,
take 500 milligrams of test or nothing.
It's basically a meme at this point. And they haven't fully considered it for use in the circumstances that I described a minute ago, and haven't considered it from the perspective of somebody who's brand new to this and just looking to get the feet wet. Trust me, Anavar is much better than what a lot of kids are doing these days by taking SARMs, or even worse, getting scammed into buying bullshit like turkesterone. So let's say hypothetically, because I'm certainly not making any recommendations, let's say hypothetically you were to use 25 milligrams of Anavar for 4 weeks. What could you expect? And just to clarify, I'll be talking about the results 90% of people will get, not outliers on either end of the bell curve. All right, strength. You can expect an immediate and rapid increase in strength if you use Anavar sublingually pre-workout, as the potent neurological effects of Anavar stimulate the central nervous system's ability to output power. Typically, all your lifts will go up 10 to 15%. Cosmetically, providing you're lean enough to observe it, a drying and tightening effect can be observed. This is particularly noticeable in the abs, delts, and arms, where it's common for new veins to start popping up. Now, if I can find it, I'll put a video of me up when I was on Anavar. And it's a great example of the vascularity and the tightening effect that it can have, particularly on your midsection. In the video, I don't think I'm particularly lean. If I was to guess, I would say I'm about 10% body fat, but even still, it's very, very noticeable. And if you were to go even lower at 8%, it would be extremely pronounced. You'll also look pumped up and full all the time. If you're a natty now, I want you to imagine yourself at your most pumped up. Now imagine yourself looking like that 24/7. That's what it's like to be on Anavar. This is due to the intramuscular nitrogen retention that Anavar will cause. All right, let's talk about the sweet gains. Providing your training and diet are on point, I would say that you can gain between 3 and 5 pounds of true muscle mass in a 4-week period. Now, users will often gain more than that in scale weight, but it's important to remember that steroids will make your muscles hold a lot more glycogen. This is what contributes to that pumped up look. Okay, Anavar's recomping effect. This is partly cosmetic. Users often report looking leaner while on Anavar. This is multifactorial. First of all, Anavar displaces subcutaneous water. This is water that's stored between your skin and your muscles. This creates an almost shrink-wrapped appearance, as well as boosting nitrogen retention intramuscularly, further adding to the look. But does Anavar actually burn fat? I would say that it actually does, but indirectly. Anavar upregulates the T4 to T3 conversion process. This speeds up your metabolism and enhances fat loss. Now, before you get too excited, the key word here is enhances. If you're not eating in a calorie deficit, you still won't burn fat. But if you are in a deficit, it can certainly add to the fat burning process. How long should you run Anavar for? Now, unfortunately, because it's a steroid, it's suppressive to your HTPA, and therefore it can't be run for long periods without damaging your body's natural testosterone production. For this reason, I'd recommend new users stick to 4 weeks. Going beyond that, you run the risk of damage to the HTPA, and as a result, you might require a mild PCT to recover. I'd recommend guys use 25 milligrams, and I'd recommend the ladies stick to 2.5 to 5 milligrams. Dosage can be taken morning orally or pre-workout sublingually. I've got a video all about how to use Anavar sublingually, so check that out. It's my experience that 25 milligrams of Anavar will give you 80% of the results that 50 milligrams will, without a lot of the annoying side effects that I'll talk about now. While Anavar is certainly one of the more benign anabolics, it's certainly not side effect free and actually can have some nasty effects, including wreaking havoc on your lipid profile, lowering the good cholesterol and raising the bad cholesterol. It can also cause electrolyte imbalances, which can lead to some pretty brutal muscle cramps. I remember when I ran 50 milligrams of Anavar for a little while, I would wake up in the morning to absolutely gnarly foot cramps and calf cramps, to the point where I was just writhing around in bed like a worm. Oh, it was so brutal. I'd eventually get out of bed and try and walk it off, but it was not fun. So when I did half my dose from 50 to 25, these cramps became much, much less common. So you got to be on top of your hydration and your electrolytes when you're on Anavar. People also say for cramps use taurine, but it's my experience that this did nothing. I believe Anavar was partly to blame for a little bit of acne that I had on my shoulders as well. But I was also on testosterone at the time, so I can't put the blame fully on Anavar. Another thing to look out for, particularly if you go the oral route, is acid reflux and heartburn. This is pretty annoying. When I was on 50 milligrams, I was constantly having to pop anti-acid tabs before meals. And obviously, because it's still an androgen, albeit a mild one, it can cause all the androgenic related issues if you're genetically prone, like acne, hair loss, and aggression. And obviously too, it can damage the HTPA with prolonged usage. Here's some things that can reduce the side effects. Increase your water intake. Anavar can have a moderate effect on your kidneys, so increased hydration is definitely recommended. Also, added electrolytes is important to avoid muscle cramps. For the acid reflux and heartburn, calcium carbonate is great to use before meals. Finally, omega-3 fish oil and citrus bergamot can help offset some of the lipid damage. How does Anavar compare to testosterone? Now, Anavar is certainly a great compound, but don't expect the same results you would get from a full-blown 16-week testosterone cycle. It just won't happen. As I was saying earlier, Anavar should be used for very short periods of time where you're looking to peak your physique for an event, or as a trial period to just test the waters and see if PEDs are for you. The true experience that steroids have to offer don't come from Anavar. They come from longer term cycles using testosterone as a base. However, it's not a decision that should be made lightly. Careful consideration is definitely necessary before you proceed. Make sure you check out this video before you decide to touch anything. Alright, that's just my take and experience on it. Thanks for watching. I hope it helped. Like, subscribe for more of this content. Check out my blog, enhanceplayer.com, and I'll see you next time. This makes it a top pick for female athletes looking for a competitive edge while avoiding the This makes it a top pick for female athletes looking for a competitive edge while avoiding the masculine